Hi, everyone, and welcome to New Money, where we talk to movers and shakers about how they made it. I'm your host, Rosemarie Miller, and I have the pleasure of speaking with luxury shoe designer Sophia Webster. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you wrote this beautiful, emphasis on beautiful book. Oh my gosh, I love your shoes.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write this book at this time in your life?
Well, I didn't set out to write a book. I had set myself a challenge on New Year's Eve 2020 to sketch a shoe a day from my archive, because the pace of fashion is very fast. You know, there's a real thirst for newness. It's one season to the next, and I have an art background. I didn't come into fashion. I didn't grow up loving fashion. It was more art, and I sort of fell into shoes. So for me, my shoes are like little works of art, and I approach them as I would a piece of art. So sketching each shoe a day was like I started it as a bit of a mindfulness challenge, but as I was going and drawing these shoes, different memories just kept coming to me, memories of inspiration, stories behind the shoes, you know, just the experience of being a young entrepreneur and the roller coaster of what that is. All these memories just started popping up, and it was almost like putting a bit of a jigsaw together. And I guess that book is like the whole picture of my journey.
Yeah. And before we get into that roller coaster, because I am curious, I want to talk about you sketching these shoes. I saw the sketches. You have it somewhere.
Yeah, it's like a pull-out. There's 365.
365. Sophia, you would wake up at midnight. You would just wake up and go sketch shoes. Could you talk about that?
So the realities of like running a business takes you quite far away from let me start again. Like I said, I started in art, so the designing part for me is my favorite part of the process, but the realities of running a business almost takes you away from that a lot. So for me, it was finding time each day to get back to the part that I really love, which is the the sketching and the creative part. So it was meant to be an enjoyable challenge, but obviously I have 4 children, so was finding like an hour a day, and it was during lockdown as well, so it was homeschooling, you know, different bits and bobs. So sometimes I would fall asleep putting my I had twin toddlers at the time, putting the twins to bed, and then I would wake up at like 10 p.m. having fallen asleep at bedtime and had to start furiously sketching this shoe, because the rule was I had to post by midnight. So I set up a private Instagram account so my friends and family could like track my progress, and also so I couldn't cheat, because there's people, you know, I had to post this sketch by midnight. So yeah, I mean, it was a bit of sort of like a daily dose of like midnight madness, I say, but it was a really great thing to kind of go back through my archive and really take a pause and see how far I'd come and how far the brand had come.
So tell us how far you've come. Give us an overview of your background.
Okay. So as a child, I was very creative. I loved art. A lot of the other subjects at school, I'd find them a bit boring. I would be a daydreamer. You know, when I was in high school, I used to go and hide in the art room because I didn't like my other subjects. So it was always art and dancing. I loved dancing as well. I was a disco dancer for many years, a competitive freestyle disco dancer. I actually went to Len Goodman's dance school. You know, he sadly passed away early this year. He was the head judge of Dancing with the Stars. So his dance school was near where I live, so I went to so he was my dance teacher. It was before he was famous, but it was an amazing dance school to go to, and I did lots of different dancing competitions all around the country, but that particular type of dance is the costumes that you wear are very embellished. There's sequins, sparkles, you know, you have to stand out on the dance floor, so we're always thinking about what colour do I want my dancing costume to be? And so from very young age, I was very aware of details and thinking about ways to combine colours to make them stand out. So I think that definitely had an impact on me.
Is this like in hindsight thing? Like you realize now, they're like, I've always kind of been this way, or did you know it then?
I think I knew then that I really wanted to follow a creative path. I had a lot of jobs as a teenager. I did like telesales, like selling double glazing on the phone, and I used to work on like the shop floor of, I worked in a shoe shop. I used to waitress at Indian weddings. I did lots of different jobs, and I knew that I really wanted to have a job that I enjoyed and I got a lot out of, in my future. Like that was my goal, was to go into something creative, because that everything else kind of, I would get distracted or get bored easily, and that was the one thing that kept my focus, was being able to be creative. So that was definitely the path that I knew I had to follow.
So you knew it had to be something creative, but you weren't quite sure what it was.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what it was. And then when it came to finishing high school and having to choose a course at college, I knew I loved sculpture, and I thought what I wanted to do was like special effects makeup, because I liked, it's just been Halloween here, and I used to love doing prosthetics and cuts and different things on people, and I thought that would be quite an exciting thing to be part of, like creating that kind of drama for the screen. And but I applied to that course and I didn't get in, and so I was like, well, what now? Like that was my plan.
Right.
And but my dad always taught us like you need to like take knockbacks on the chin, and you win some, you lose some. He was that sort of person. He was like, get on with it. Like, that was sort of what he was like.
I get that. I started to realize in life, like, sometimes closed doors are a blessing.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I definitely see rejection as an opportunity to like recalibrate, I guess, and reconfigure your goals, and also a test of resilience to see what it is you actually really want to do. That is a real test of resilience when you get a no or you've a closed door. So my dad was never he didn't have a career plan. He was like a real wild card. So he worked in like betting shops for a long time. I don't know if it's the same here, but it's like horse racing, and people would go and place bets and different things. And then he was a delivery driver. So he didn't really have career goals, let's say. He just kind of just rolled with the punches a bit. He was a DJ at weekends, so he loved music. Like music was his real passion. He's got the biggest record collection that I've ever seen in my entire life, and he that was what he got a lot of passion out of. So he would DJ at the weekends. But my mum was a teacher. So from my mum, I really saw like a real work ethic. And I saw her go through the ranks at school. When I was young, she was an English teacher. And then I saw her go to being like a head of English, a deputy head. And she really set her goals and set her sights on what she wanted, and just relentlessly kind of went for it. And when she was applying for headship roles, she went for lots of positions that she didn't get, and it was really great to see her get knockbacks. And she was like, what, so sometimes your face doesn't fit, but you have to keep going. You have to try again. And then eventually she went for a headship that she got, and it was actually the perfect school for her, because it had like an art specialism. So it was dancing and acting, and that's what my mum really loves. And when she went for that interview, I remember the night before, I was like, what are you going to wear? And she was like, I don't know, but I know I'm going to wear my leopard print pumps because if I get this job, I'm going to get it being 100% me. And I was like, that for me was magic, because it was like, she taught me that you have to go into things being 100% authentic, like yourself, and just don't be afraid to fail, just go for it.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if I answered the
No,
question.
you answered it. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking right now, I know your mom is so proud. You're on Forbes and you're giving her her shout out. Like, okay, mama. Okay. But I want to know some of the challenges you had to face. You talked about it being a roller coaster, being a young entrepreneur. What are some of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
I think even right back at college, I had a lot of challenges. So I went to the London College of Fashion. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't get into the special effects makeup course. And then what I did was I did a year's foundation course. So it's a course where you do a year in art and you work out which direction it is that you want to go to. But I applied for 2 other colleges and I didn't get accepted into either of them. So I ended up going to this college in South London called Camberwell College. And it was a great place to go because what it did was one day we were there, we had a life drawing class, and I just found myself really focused on the shoes because it was life drawing with a fashion model, so she was changing outfits and we had to do really quick sketches. And I was just so focused on the shoes, and I really got a lot of enjoyment out of drawing these shoes. And one of my tutors there said, oh, you know, there's a college in East London where you can learn how to make shoes. It's called Cordwainers College. So straight away I knew that that's where I wanted to apply, and I did a degree there at London College of Fashion in footwear. But on that degree, you know, I think in fashion in general, and there's a lot of people that want to tell you like how hard things are to do, you know, and how there's a lot of like jaded hierarchies and doors, you know, that you have to get past. And I knew that I wanted to have my own shoe brand. I just knew it. I believed it. I knew it. That was just my goal. And I remember in my final year, in your final year, you could do whatever you wanted to do. It was the first time we actually got our opportunity to design our own shoes. So my collection was a red carpet collection. That was the theme. So it was lots of crystals, satins, you know, really like sparkly embellishments that would flash with on a red carpet. And I remember as part of the coursework, you had to do like a customer profile. So age, where they live, what do they like, and my customer profile was Beyonce. And my tutor was like, just looked at me. She was like exasperated with me because, you know, I was obviously I was like a bit of a dreamer, but she was like, come on, Sophia, like you need to live in the real world. But I just had this unwavering belief that Beyonce was going to wear my shoes, and somehow, some way, I was going to make it happen, you know. And like here we are, and Beyonce has worn my shoes, you know. So it's like there's a lot of people that will offer you up, you know, advice, let's say, but even you have to just believe in yourself. Like, you know, really, you don't need their approval. Like the only person who has to believe in you is you, and that's sort of what I learned at college.
That's scary.
Yeah,
to be the only one believing in you.
Yeah,
especially at a young age.
Yeah, I know.
How did you manage that?
I don't know. I think I'm naturally quite a resilient person. You know, I grew up surrounded by strong women. My grandma was a refugee. Like I said, my mum was, you know, I saw my mum really have like real aspirational career goals and an amazing work ethic. And my nanny Peggy, she was an amazing lady. She like suffered so much like heartbreak and such sadness in her life, and she still sort of got up every day, and her style was so fantastic. She was like pure glam. She really inspired that in me. Like she had fluffy slippers, and she would put her makeup on even she was like peeling potatoes, you know. She wouldn't answer the door until she'd put her, you know, drawn her eyebrows on and come downstairs. She was like pure glam. Every Christmas day she would wear this glitter suit, and my dad would joke that you have to hoover up after every Boxing Day. So I feel very lucky that I grew up surrounded by really resilient, strong women. So that was kind of instilled in me from a young age.
Wait, so stop right there. I want to go back to when you said you believed, you just knew it. You knew that going to the shoe school was what you wanted to do, a school
Yeah.
that would help you design shoes. You knew that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
What was the feeling? What was the difference in the feeling of knowing that that's what you wanted to do versus when you thought you knew that special effects makeup
Yeah.
was what you wanted to do? Because, I don't know, there are a lot of people out here kind of wandering aimlessly or thinking, maybe I should be doing this, but you knew
Yeah.
that this was the thing. Does this make sense?
Yeah, that makes
okay.
sense, yeah. I think it's like just a gut feeling, you know, and obviously a lot of my shoes are butterfly details, but it really gave me butterflies, like thinking about having shoes as my career and doing that. And strangely enough, it was in the same prospectus, the makeup course and the shoe course at London College of Fashion, and I did always used to just fall on that page sometimes. I think, oh, you know, that could, but yeah. And then once I'd started drawing shoes, and then I would go into the workshop and I would do some like carvings that almost looked like heels, and I just, I don't know, I went to the library at school and I would just research all different shoe designers. I just was like a dog with a bone. Like once I've got it in my head that I want to do something, that was it. I was like learning all about shoes and different shoe designers, and I found this one shoe designer who did these amazing sketches. He's called Edmundo Castillo, and at the time he was the creative director for Sergio Rossi, and I would go on their website and look at his sketches, and they were just so incredible. The way he would draw a shoe was like complete confidence, you know, the lines, everything was, and that to me was like, right, I want to be that good. I want to be able to draw a shoe that good. And then from that day, I just drew shoes every day. I wanted it to be like second nature, you know.
And is that the first time in your life you ever wanted to be that good at something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Wow.
I do. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You're inspiring me right now. And Sophia, when was the moment that you knew I made it?
I think there's probably different moments in different ways. Like, obviously, it's absolutely amazing to see celebrities and superstars like wearing something that I've designed and knowing that their foot is like touching my name. That is really kind of mind-blowing to me. So I've been very fortunate that I've had some really amazing celebrity moments, and probably my biggest moment is Oprah wearing a pair of my Coco pumps for her historic Me Too speech. Like, that was a real moment in history, and to be a tiny part of that was super special. But having said that, I would also say seeing my customers in the street, spotting someone on the train or in a restaurant wearing my shoes, that's really special, because, you know, I design them to make people smile when they wear them, when they open them, and then when I see women wearing them, that really makes me smile. So it feels like a bit of a full circle moment. And then I would also say, back at the beginning, just the first time I saw my shoes in store or online, there was a moment actually for my very first collection, because I used to do silver service waitressing when in the evenings after college, and I did an event at Stella McCartney's I think it was the first birthday of her store opening, and I remember like walking around with a plate of canapes and just following like Stella McCartney around this party and thinking, I want to have this one day, you know, I want to have my own brand and my own store. This would be amazing. And it didn't even dawn on me that like, well, her dad's one in the Beatles and your dad's like a delivery driver. That didn't, I don't think, like I said, some people would sound a bit delusional and a bit, you know, like I have these like crazy dreams, and but that for me, I was like, I'm gonna do this, you know. And then the first season I sold to Net-a-Porter, and I remember when the shoes landed online, I couldn't wait to like scroll through the list of designers, and then I saw myself there next to Stella McCartney, and I was like, wow, you know, that for me was a moment. I was like, wow, so if you like, you know, you actually did it, you know. But that was right at the start, obviously. That was, you know, I got there, and then there's still lots more to do. There's a lot of ups and downs of running a business, but that moment for me then, it was like, you know, you went from waitressing at a party to being, side by side in a store. So that was a very proud moment for me.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the money. How did you learn how to manage your money?
Well, being a startup, the money just, you put it back into the business, So for a long time, we would do that. And when I say we, it's me and my husband, so it's our company. And for a long time, we, every penny would go back into the company, and we wouldn't pay ourselves very much. We didn't pay ourselves at all in the first few years. So it's definitely been a real journey for us. And going from a startup to then being a more established brand, at every stage there's different obstacles and there's different challenges. It doesn't really matter how much money you have or when you get investment and things like that. It's just, you just have the next set of challenges. So it's really a sort of a journey, I would say.
Well, who taught you this? How did you learn that this is the way that this has to be?
I don't know if anyone actually taught me. We were definitely winging it for a really long time. And it's only really now that I've been doing it for a decade. This year is my 10th year. It's the 10th anniversary of the brand, that I can actually sit here with any sort of wisdom, I would say, and say, well, this is what I did. This is how I did it. I don't know whether it's the best framework for anyone else, but you kind of have to just take one step at a time. And my business has grown with me. So when I started it, I started it with my then boy. It was he was my boyfriend then. Then we got engaged. Then we got married. Then I added in a bridal line. Then I had my first baby girl. Then I added in mini shoes. And it's kind of the brand and the product categories and the growth has gone hand in hand with my life. It's been very sort of organic, and it's been about making sense of that as we go along.
Okay. So what is the biggest money mistake you've made, and what are some lessons you've learned from it?
I don't know if it was necessarily a mistake, but I think having we opened up a couple of our own stores, and when I opened a store, it was on Mount Street, which is an amazing shopping street in Mayfair, and it was amazing to have my own little piece of that road on one of the most exclusive postcodes in London. That was really incredible, and I loved that store, and I put so much of myself into the decor and everything. And then there's so many things that you just can't predict happening. And then when COVID happened, I've got a store in the most expensive postcode in London that absolutely nobody can go inside, So there's definitely been some things that may have started out as really amazing opportunities, and then through things that you can't control have turned into real a real drain on the business. So we were very lucky that our lease came up with that, and we managed to get out of that, because we just didn't know how long that scenario was gonna last. And as a business, creating primarily high heels and event shoes, that was quite frightening. And that's why I almost pivoted a bit then as well, and started doing, I do a lot of boots, a lot of different categories. We do trainers, there's that. For me was a point where we really had to adapt and sort of look around. And I'm so glad that I did that, because even now, post-COVID, women aren't wearing shoes in the same way. So it was almost like we sort of saw that happening, and where we're quite a small business, or we were able to react and be very agile in that time.
So what are some of your biggest investments, if you don't mind me asking?
So my biggest investment personally would be our house. And for me and my husband, we weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. So to be able to create a business, and then we took an investment, and then we bought our house, that for us was a really incredible moment, because we have a big family. Like I said, between us we have 5 kids. I have a 17-year-old stepson, and then a 9-year-old daughter, 5-year-old twin girls, and a 1-year-old. So for us to have a home and that's ours, that's my little piece of London, you know, that for me is incredible. And then, like I said, we're growing our company. So when you're growing a company, you have to keep reinvesting in that company. So a lot of the money goes back into the company to grow it.
You know, I'm curious, your shoe is in major stores like Saks. How did that happen?
So for my first collection in 2013, I applied to the British Fashion Council they offer a scheme called New Gen sponsorship. So if you're a young designer, you can go to them and they will give you a small amount of funding and you get a slot at London Fashion Week. So I would try and put on these most immersive presentations at London Fashion Week, where I really would have opportunity to showcase my world and the world that I would envisage my shoes and my designs living in. And you know, presentations are great because they slot them in between the shows, and location wise you choose a venue that might be en route from one show to the next, and then you'll have press and buyers and different people coming to your presentation. So yeah, I'm quite thankful to the British Fashion Council because that really gave me a platform for press, buyers, stylists. You know, it was then that Rihanna's stylist got in touch with me after that very first show and said, "Oh, can I?" It was, and the pair of shoes was called Riri, so it was like I named them that. It was like I was, you know, manifesting that she was going to wear them. And they, her stylist Abigail, contacted me and actually asked for a pair, if we could send a pair to Rihanna while she was in London. So, which of course I was like, "Oh my God, yes, of course." So. Yeah, that was a great platform because it gave me real exposure to lots of different buyers that were in town for Fashion Week.
So what 3 pieces of advice do you have for young up-and-coming designers? So my number one bit of advice would be to a student wanting to forge a career in fashion would be to get as much experience as you can, to get out there. And if you know what you want and you know where you want to get to, but you don't know how to get there, then you need proximity. You need to be in the room with somebody that is doing what you want to do and be near them, even if it's just making tea, like the amount of cups of tea I've made for people. But then you make a cup of tea and then you might have a conversation. It's like, oh, I really like, I really actually want to, I'm in this department, but I would love to be in that department. And that's how you can progress. Just be in there.
Just be in there. And I used to, the very first placement I had was with a designer called Georgina Goodman, and she designed the shoes for Alexander McQueen.
Yeah.
And I was completely in awe of her. And I used to go home at the weekends and just draw so many shoes, and I used to give her these piles of drawings, even though I wasn't in the design I wasn't interning in the design department, but I would just give her these drawings and be like, George, if you have 10 minutes, please can you have a look, and just, I wanted to learn how to create a great shoe. And she was very generous with her time. People are generous if you're really eager to learn. And and she would say to me, Sophia, you're doing what every student does, you're designing 10 shoes in one, simplify it, pare it back, and she would actually give me great advice. She'd be like, take that one shoe and design 10 shoes out of that one shoe. And that was really good advice, because from really early on I was understanding that you don't need to go crazy and throw everything at a shoe. You can, there has to be a balance. And I think probably the other pieces of advice that I would say.
That was like 2 right there.
Okay, sorry. Every competition that would come up at college, because lots of brands come to fashion colleges, with bursaries or competitions that you can enter, and I entered absolutely everything. I just wanted to get my name out there. I wanted people to see what I could do. And I entered a competition that was, the prize was you got to design your own collection for it's a UK high street company called River Island. And I grew up loving River Island. I was, that was I was high street girl. So to be able to design my own collection for them was just incredible. And I went on to win that bursary. And then when I was there, that was just invaluable learning, because I learned how I was already interning at the time with a luxury designer, luxury shoe designer. So I was seeing from their perspective the real craftsmanship and, you know, the detail of that real elevated part of the market. But then also at River Island, I was learning how every stitch, every single component and technique has an impact on the costing of a shoe. So I had a really wide breadth of like experience that I had learned, and that was whilst I was at college. So I think it's really important to start early and get yourself out there getting that experience. And then my third bit of advice would be to not DM or email. You know, you need to pick up the phone.
Every Gen Z needs to hear I just read something the other day, like people are having a hard time getting like the consensus or something because you won't pick up the phone. But go ahead.
Because when I did my collection for River Island, I really wanted it to be in Grazia. Like that magazine was where I wanted it to be, because it's a really good magazine that sort of spans designer, high street, and my mum used to love that magazine. She always bought it, so I really wanted to be in Grazia. And I just rung up the switchboard, and I found out who was the junior features editor, and I rang up and asked to speak to her. And then it was kind of out of my comfort zone to do that, but I think you really have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and have that very personal interaction, and take the opportunity to explain about yourself, explain what you do. And I got her on the phone and I told her all about my collection and what I'd done at college, and I'd won this bursary and this collection's going to be in stores like nationwide. I'm so excited about it. And then I had an amazing piece in Grazia, you know, from that one phone call. So you really have to make yourself vulnerable and put yourself out there and talk to people and be your authentic self. And because DMs and emails are the easiest things to ignore. You know, you don't even have to open it. You know.
That's true. Well, what's next for Sophia Webster, the designer, and Sophia Webster person?
So I think what's next for the brand is to expand our handbags category, because we've been seeing some great success with that. And I really love doing other categories beyond shoes. You know, I do mini shoes, I do bridal range, I do handbags now, and that's really exciting. Exciting to see people use my products in different ways, and even for me as well, because with and as a retailer as well, with handbags you don't have the same problems with like sizing and things like that. So that's great. And I love collaborating as well. I'd love to do more collaborations. That's one of my favourite things to do. I've been able to collaborate with some amazing brands over the years, from J. Crew to Puma. You know, I really enjoyed doing a sportswear collaboration with Puma that I did for 2 years. That was really fun. So I want to expand my sneakers categories, and do some more really fun collaborations as well. I just recently did one with LOL dolls. Do you have them here in the US? LOL dolls.
LOL. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think you probably do. They're really cute. So they're like really cute little sassy dolls that come in balls. So I did a collaboration with them, which was so cute. Especially I've got 3 daughters, so that went down really well at home. I don't know. I'd love to do some more. I'd love to do like a collaboration with like a celebrity or something. I'd love to do one with Mariah Carey, you know, like the Queen of Butterflies.
Speak it into existence, hey. And what's next for Sophia the person?
So for me personally, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and enjoying making and designing shoes. And this book has been a great way to like just wrap up the last 10 years and really get some perspective on all of that. And it's made me really excited for the next 10, you know, because even though we've come this far, I still feel like I'm just getting started. So I'm excited for the future.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Sophia.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.